Tyranny of the Hatt by Liam Campbell and Clara Lucas. Log 20. Epilogue. The Audrey Gala. Engines from far and wide of the island gathered underneath a grand canopy at Teignmouth Station. Although not every engine could leave their jobs behind and join the celebrations of the yearly Audrey Gala, there was still a good amount. However, there was someone missing. Duck sat within Teignmouth sheds, watching his driver and fireman tear something down. "What are you doing?" asked a familiar voice. Edward had entered the sheds. "I've been waiting for you at the station. Will you be attending?" "Yes, one moment, Edward. Buggy, burn that one." Duck sat beside his conspiracy board, watching his driver and fireman tear down photos of Diesel roped together. "Finally getting rid of your conspiracy board?" asked Edward. "Yeah." Duck paused. "You don't realize how much you really cared for someone until they're gone." Edward smiled. "But it was the time you spent with them that made all the difference." "Indeed," grinned Duck back. His driver and fireman tore off the last photo intact as Duck gazed onto the clean board. He kept smiling as he joined the party. Duck and the others chattered cheerfully to each other as the crowds on the platform danced, sang, and talked amongst themselves, waiting for the ceremonies and activities to begin. Stephen sat in the foyer of his office, nervously pacing up and down, reading over a stack of note cards in his hand that contained his speech. I can't do this, he murmured out loud. "You'll do great," reassured Charles, stuffing a large slice of cake into his mouth. The entire Hatt family was gathered in the foyer, awaiting for Bruno to go on stage and begin the introductions. A large table had been placed inside, decked out with refreshments for the Hatt family and extension. "Will I? What if the engines don't like me, even after all I've done?" "Outside, they were talking about you like you were the savior," laughed Rebecca. "Those new Diesels, Kyra and Milo, said they loved you from the books." "They thought I was father," snarled Stephen. "Well, James has an appreciation for you now," spoke Bridget. "He does?" cheered Stephen, peeking up from his cards. People laughed. Stephen thought to himself out loud. "Oh, I hope everything goes all right. Hopefully there's no accidents like last week with Dennis." "Dennis!" cried Stephen as he ran into his office and looked through the newly fixed window. "Where is he? He better not be sleeping again." "He's in the station talking to Rosie, sir," winked Bruno as he left the office to go begin his speech. Stephen exited his office. He closed the door, taking a peek. Where the cracks in the window once were was now a stained glass window of his father and dad. He sighed as he looked at the figure below them, himself. His forefathers held on to him. The cracks were purposeful. They were flaws of their own broken past, but it made them whole once again. The large family got ready to leave. Stephen felt a hand on his back as he looked over to see his father patting him. "Ladies, gentlemen, others, and engines, I'd like to welcome you all to our 40th Audrey Gala. I'd like to especially thank all the fans and others from around the world for coming to see our small railway. I'd like to introduce the Reverend Robert Awdry to the stage." Stephen read over the cards over and over in his hands, trying his best to memorize everything. "And I'd like to thank the Academy." No, wrong thing. "Hey!" Stephen looked up. There, in front of him, was a beautiful woman standing in front of him in a lovely white gown. Hello, greeted Stephen, standing up immediately and thrusting his hand forward for a shake. The woman abided. "Who are you, sorry?" asked Stephen, continuing the handshake for way too long. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Eliza Dagny." "Pleasure to meet you, Eliza. I'm Stephen Hatt, yes," finished Eliza. "You know about me?" "Yes, I know all about you. We went to high school together." "Oh, yes, I remember. Please, have a seat. Bridget, move." Bridget snickered to Rebecca, whispering something to her as she scooted her chair over. Stephen pulled over a chair for Eliza to sit in, and they talked for a long time. Stephen finally stopped when it was his turn to go up. He hugged Bruno before taking the stand. Something was different as he stood up and the applause of an audience followed. He felt confident, much more confident than he had felt ages ago. He looked at Eliza. She was familiar. Not because they had known each other before, no. She was like her, though. Something in Stephen's body filled him as he made his way to the stage. As old friends and new friends shaked, high-fived, and fist-bumped him, he felt something in his chest that he had not felt for years. He felt whole again. He thought back to the moment months ago in his office as he stood on the stage as a chorus of whistles and cheers greeted him. Back when he was visited by the owl, he kept thinking about what she had said as the clapping continued. He had actually tried to get a connection with the engines, not putting them back into service. He had taken a token out of Bridget's book and talked to them. Sure, it had been hard at first, but eventually, he had warmed up to them. It took time for some more than others. Gordon ducked and others shunned him for a while, but over time, they had come to earn each other's respects. He was thankful as well that Edward was open towards him as well. He stared on at the little blue engine, thinking about him. Without him, it seemed like none of the other engines would have changed their minds in the first place. He glanced awkwardly at Mr. Richards and Rebecca. He felt bad at his harassment and made sure to apologize profusely. Thankfully, Mr. Richards, after a few mishaps, made the decision to purchase his diesels. Stephen beamed as he began to make his speech. For once in his life, he felt whole again. His reign of tyranny was over.
When the light is running low and the shadows start to grow and the places that you know seem like fantasy, there's a light inside your soul that's still shining in the cold with the truth, the promise in our hearts. Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.